Good morning, students. In this E-class of BND Government Arts College, Chamanpura, we would continue the play Tughlaq. And in this class, we would discuss scene 11 and scene 12 of Girish Karnad's play Tughlaq. We have come to know that Tughlaq is a 13-scene play written by Girish Karnad, and it focuses on Muhammad bin Tughlaq of the 14th century. By the time we reach scene 11, we have come to know that Tughlaq is portrayed as having great ideas, great vision, but his rule was a complete failure. Of course, he started his rule with great ideals of a unified king, but by the time we reach scene 11, the entire kingdom, the entire rule has degenerated into anarchy, and there's a complete dissatisfaction among people by the rule of Tughlaq. So with this backdrop, we come down to scene 11. So in scene 10, we have come to know that Karim brings Ghiyasuddin Abbasid, and when Aziz and Azam, they come to know about his identity, they prostrate before him, and he behaves in a very haughty manner. And Aziz tells him that Sultan is suspicious by nature, and he would doubt the identity of Ghiyasuddin. Abbasid discloses that he has Sultan's letter and the ring that he has sent as a mark of recognition with him. Aziz murders Abbasid and puts on his robes, and he disguises himself as Ghiyasuddin. The scene ends with Aziz thinking himself as Ghiyasuddin and as the royal guest of honor. He is being welcomed in the palace. So the action in scene 11, it takes place in a plain outside the fort of Daulatabad. In this scene, Aziz is welcomed by Sultan. Before the arrival of Ghiyasuddin is announced, and he will bless and purify Daulatabad. The citizens, they are requested to collect in large numbers to welcome him, and it has been declared that this is a holy day for the state. And why this is a holy day? Because prayers, they are going to be revived on the day, and Muslims again will pray 5 times a day as it is proclaimed in, or is mentioned in Holy Quran. So they say this is a holy day for us, a day of joy, and its glory will be crowned by the fact that the public prayer, which has been mute in our land for these 5 years, will be started again from next Friday. And henceforth, every Muslim will pray 5 times a day as enjoined by the Holy Quran and declare himself a faithful slave of the Lord. The crowds of citizens, they are seen in the plain outside the fort of Daulatabad, and each one of them, they are disgusted. They are disgusted with the male administration of Tughlaq. They are all hungry, most of them they are starving, and there was not a single grain in the royal granary. In the village, they have to starve or pay 20 coins of silver for a fistful of food, for wheat. And death, it rules Tughlaq's kingdom. There are the skeletons which are lined up on the roads, and people, they are so hungry and they have nothing to eat. Even they are eating the barks of the tree or the burnt strips of the skins of animal. So for them, the announcement of Ghiyasuddin or prayer is quite meaningless. And the revival of prayer, it is of no use to hungry people, to starving people, and to the people who are quite suffering. They assert that they do not want prayer, they want food. And because of the starvation, because of their hunger, they are so disgusted that they start fighting among themselves on even petty matters and are quite ready to kill. So, in this backdrop, there is music and the announcement of arrival from one side of Tughlaq, and of Abbasid and his entourage, they arrive from the other side. Muhammad, he stares at Aziz in the guise of Ghiyasuddin, and he's not quite sure of what is happening. The Hindu women, means Tughlaq is actually welcoming Aziz, who is in disguise of Ghiyasuddin. But the Hindu women whose child had died steps out of the crowd. She stares at Aziz, and it is she who recognizes Aziz in disguise. The Sultan, he embraces Aziz and warmly welcomes him, considering him as Ghiyasuddin, and says that the dust of his feet on his head can save him now. He says, "Welcome to our city, your holiness. Welcome to our poor land. My kingdom rejoices at the arrival of your gracious presence. We have waited for years for this joyful moment. Our streets have waited in silence for the moment when the call to the holy prayer will ring in them again. And each year has been a century. We have waited long, your holiness, and our aims have become shadows that entwine round our feet. So now the moment has come for me and my people to rejoice. Only you can save me now. Your holiness, only the dust of your feet on my head can save me now." He falls at his feet, and each one in the crowd, they also kneels. The Sultan gets up, they embrace again, and they depart. The Hindu women whose child had died, she recognizes Aziz in disguise, and she cries out that it is the man who had killed her child. She screams, goes on screaming for her dead child, and people, they don't understand her. They think that Sultan had murdered her child. They shout that they want food and they do not want prayers. A soldier tried to silence them, but they want him to kill them. There is confusion all around. The soldiers, they are mobbed and they are beaten by the crowd. The soldiers, in turn, they beat the citizens. This is the beginning of the riots. So, in scene 11, the entire situation has become chaotic. The rule of Tughlaq has become chaotic. The plans that he had devised for the people, they have become chaotic. They have resulted in chaos, and people, they also have become chaotic and a mob, an unruly mob in their behavior. So with this chaos, scene 11 ends. So after 5 years, when Tughlaq finds everything else failing, he again resorts to religion and invites the last descendant of the Khalifa, Ghiyasuddin. Ghiyasuddin, he should come and he should purify the land. The visit also marks the restarting of prayers. So prayers actually serve a very important motive in Tughlaq. But the irony of the situation is that the real Khalifa was murdered, and he's murdered by Aziz, who himself disguises as Ghiyasuddin and who comes and is received by Tughlaq and by the crowd of citizens. Now, one very important aspect of Aziz is the spectacular rise of Aziz in the play. From a dhobi, he becomes a revered state guest who is welcomed as the descendant of the Khalifa. And he is supposed to purify the land and restart the banned prayers. Now, there are very important aspects of Aziz's search for power. In the beginning, Aziz simply wants money. So from a pickpocketer to a corrupt official to a dacoit, he has been pursuing money. But then the stage comes in his career where mere wealth, it does not satisfy him. So what he wants is, he wants power. And even Tughlaq, he wants power, but there is difference between the aims of Tughlaq and the aims of Aziz. Tughlaq wants power to rule, and he wants to enjoy power for the sake of his kingdom, for becoming a real king. But for Aziz, power is simply for his own selfish ends. He wants to enjoy having and exercising power and all other luxuries that it is going to bring. While he was journeying with Azam, he tells him that he has discovered a whole new world of politics, which is going to give him wealth, which is going to give him success, which is going to give him position and power. And he comes to know that to enjoy power, he has to be in a very important position, which will give him money also, and which will give him power also. So he murders Ghiyasuddin, a descendant of the Abbasid Khalifa, who is on his way to the palace of Tughlaq as a royal invitee, and is going to be received in the place with great respect. So the irony in the play is disclosed in this scene when it is not Ghiyasuddin but Aziz who has been making the maximum benefits, the maximum profits out of Tughlaqian rule, is revered and is welcomed by Sultan in the way that Sultan prostrates himself on the feet of Aziz. So scene 12 again is the scene between Aziz and Azam, and as the curtain rises, it is laid in the palace, and when the curtain rises, Aziz is seen eating some fruit in a room of the palace, enjoying the power, pelf, position, respect and welcome of the king. Azam tells Aziz that he is tired of cheating and playing tricks and disguises, and he says that he has made a survey of the place and he has come to know that people in the city, they are now like mad dogs. Means out of the dissatisfaction, out of the hunger, out of the starving, out of the suffering, people are quite rebellious by temperament. They have been screaming, burning houses, killing people for entire week. And he says that he has twice gone out of the palace through the secret passage and has visited the cities. Azam says that the streets are like little fingers and littered with dead bodies. There are corpses and flies and it all stinks. The Sultan is mad. On the night we came here, I was so nervous I could not sleep. So I was standing by the window looking at those heaps. They looked like giant anthills in the moonlight. Suddenly I saw a shadow moving among them. I startled. It was a man wandering alone in the garden. He went to a heap, stood there for half an hour, still as a rock. Then he dug into the heads with his fist, raised his fist and let the coins trickle out. It was frightening, and you know who he was? Your Sultan. He does that every night, every single night. It is like witchcraft. So Azam tells about the affairs of the state and the condition of Tughlakan rule. So he insists Aziz that it is time that they should leave. And he also says that he has bribed 2 servants of the palace to bring 2 horses, and he tells his intention to leave the fort the very day, and he invites Aziz to come along with him. Aziz considers the decision to escape as idiotic and foolish. He thinks that the fort is the safest place for them. But Azam, he does not pay heed to his advice. He does not stay and leave the fort. And Aziz, he calls him foolish. So in scene 12, Aziz and Azam, they quarrel. Azam decides to leave Aziz because he's frightened. And very skillfully, the characters of Azam and Aziz, he does not have a conscience, he's clever enough, he's shrewd enough, and Azam's consciousness and Azam's fear and Azam's humanity, it always lurks out through his character all through the play. So scene 12, this is a short scene, and again it focuses upon Aziz and Azam, who are the subplot of the play and always comment upon the male administration or the policies of Tughlaq going wrong. Whenever they come, both of these characters, Aziz and Azam, they offer a sort of the comic relief and the dramatic relief in the surmounting tensions of the play. Azam always has been a close friend of Aziz and his partner all through the play. Their rise as vagabonds and as robbers and as deceivers to the position of power in scene 11 is something that is noteworthy. It appears that it's only Aziz and Azam who are getting the maximum benefit or the maximum gain from the policies of Tughlaq. Aziz is undeniably the more cunning of the two, and Azam's action, they are just as a support to Aziz. And together, they always comment upon the policies of Sultan and provide a variety of perspective on the political climate of the play, and also a comment upon the rule of Tughlaq. Azam's conscience or Azam's humanity or Azam's kindness is slightly reflected all through the play, but Aziz, he's quite sure and he's very adamant and he's quite decisive of what he wants to attain. So in this scene also, Azam tries to run away, looking at the deteriorating condition in the state and fearing the effects of the state of affairs into their own lives. But Aziz, he is quite adamant, and his quest or his search for power, wealth, position, money is quite specified in his shrewdness, in his cleverness. Thus, the subplot of the play, Aziz and Azam, it runs parallel to the main plot, and it employs the dramatic relief, the comic relief, but it also acts as a comment upon Tughlakan rule. This subplot of Aziz and Azam means whenever they appear on stage, it is always characterized by suspense and surprise, which is a very important element or aspect of the play.